Walmart just F around and now they're finding out.
So I did the FAFO thing.
I really hope that this is not FAFO.
So this is a PSA and the official social media record noting that the phrase F around and find out is an Afro-American proverb. It is a proverb that has been used in our community for at least 100 years. So now that everybody outside of our community is starting to use this word, or this phrase rather, I want it to be noted for the official record that it is an Afro-American proverb. Before it gets mixed up with Gen Z slang, which is still really mostly Afro-American vernacular, I want it to be noted for the record that you all found out and know that it is in fact an Afro-American proverb. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
What does FAFO mean, and why is it everywhere? From viral TikToks to political memes. In this video, we'll explore its origins, its rise to internet fame, and its surprising connection to topics like Obamacare and MAGA. Let's dive in. FAFO stands for F*** around and find out. It's a blunt expression warning that reckless actions lead to harsh consequences. Over time, it's become a viral way to humorously or seriously address everything from life lessons to political debates. The roots of FAFO can be traced to internet forums and meme culture, where it gained popularity as a shorthand for personal accountability. One of the earliest visual representations was the FAFO chart, which humorously quantified the relationship between actions and outcomes. FAFO quickly became a tool for political commentary. For example, during debates about Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, FAFO memes emerged as critics pointed out how opposing the ACA could lead to losing its benefits.
Not to sound like really stupid, but is the Boston Marathon longer than the LA Marathon?
No, all marathons are the same length. That's like common sense, I fear.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Here's something Republicans don't want you to know about. It turns out that when my husband retires, we'll be paying less money for health insurance than we were paying under his employer's health insurance plan. You know why that is? Obamacare. A lot of folks don't retire early because they don't understand that Obamacare can possibly provide cheaper health insurance than what they're currently paying. And we know that in this country, health insurance is tied to your employment. What do I have to say? Thanks, Obama.
So we just got some really big numbers, and of course I had to come and run to TikTok to share with you guys. You know that you'd be the first ones to know, of course. So it just turns out that we have now covered more than 20 million people because of the Affordable Care Act. That's amazing, right? Like, just to think, all those years ago when President Obama signed it into law, everything that has happened, all of the attempts to try to repeal it, the courage of folks like John McCain to try to save the Affordable Care Act, everyone who lost their seats because of it, it is so inspiring to now see that it's 100% working. It's been working all these years, and the reforms we're making to expand its access to more people is continuing to get people access to healthcare. It's a big win, and it's a part of the reason why 2024 is so important. Healthcare is on the ballot. We have to expand the Affordable Care Act. It is doing great work. We have to make sure it keeps on rolling.
So I'm sure a lot of people don't know this, but the healthcare system in the United States went through a drastic transformation under the Obama years. And there was this little thing called the Affordable Care Act, which was supposed to make healthcare more affordable for people under President Obama. Well, it did not do that, and I'll talk more about this in some other videos. But one of the provisions of the Affordable Care Act was to get rid of Cadillac plans. See, there were people that had excellent health insurance plans from their employer, and they had little to no deductible or copay, and this was considered unfair. So the Affordable Care Act got rid of that. I had a patient who was with the Alaska Railroad. This guy basically built Alaska. He worked on the railroad from the 1950s till the modern day. He's in his 90s now, but his original plan had basically no deductible. His healthcare was taken care of by the corporation, and he worked really darn hard, so it was really good. But when Obamacare came along, he lost that plan, and they changed it to something like a $5,000 deductible because, Cadillac plans just weren't fair. Well, you might agree with this, but guess what? Blue Cross Federal was exempted. So all the millions of government workers, including all your Congress people, they were exempted from this little provision. They kept their Blue Cross Federal, which has almost a zero deductible, very little cost for people, which is great. But be aware when these Democrats are pushing Medicare for all, you can guarantee that the congressmen and congresswomen will not be on Medicare. They will have their own exempted private plan, which will be a lot better. And those people have no idea what it's like to be on Medicare, try to get medications or procedures paid for by the Medicare plans. But that will be the plan you will have as your only option, and they will have an exemption. So don't trust them. And whether you're Democrat or Republican, I can guarantee you there is corruption that goes all the way through our government. And some people describe this as fascism. When you have corporations that have deals, they are in league with the government and vice versa. And the government is ensuring that corporations are being enriched by the tax money, which is happening under the exchange. And when the corporations are protected from competition, that is fascism. It is not a free market. So don't trust them. Don't accept what they're going to try and ram down your throats. And look for something that's much more affordable in the free market.
If you are worried about losing your health care under the Trump administration, open enrollment for the Affordable Care Act is happening right now, and you can enroll into January. The Affordable Care Act is so well put together that it would take Trump and his administration a while to dismantle it, if they even could. But if that's something you are worried about, I would recommend enrolling now.
Apparently, a lot of them are figuring out that Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act are the same thing, and they actually voted against their own self-interest. If you voted for them, you took away my health care. Not only did you take away my health care, you took away my ability to get insurance at all because I have pre-existing conditions. And that's just one of the minuscule ways you've affected people in this country.
Time for some hard truths. Donald Trump says he has concepts of a plan to replace the Affordable Health Care Act, aka Obamacare. Let me tell you something, that's not true. The act passed in 2010. During the midterms, Barack Obama lost his majority trifecta Democratic House and Senate. It was Republican House, Republican Senate. They didn't get rid of Obamacare. They didn't have a plan. Barack Obama served an entire 4 years of a second term. Donald Trump had 4 years in his first term. Joe Biden had 4 years. It's 14 years. They have not come up with a comprehensive alternative to the Affordable Health Care Act. They had a website once. I went to it. It was like an empty warehouse. It was just like some platitudes, some just vague promises, but not anything as close, as comprehensive and extensive as the Affordable Health Care Act. And I'm just hoping and praying that Donald Trump realizes with 50 million Americans on it, 22.3 million, many in red states, it's really popular, especially the pre-existing conditions part, that he just gives up.
There's this American man who came on big social media and said that he voted for Trump because he wanted Trump to scrap Obamacare. Mind you, he's unemployed, right? And if anybody knows about the American healthcare system, it is privatized, which means that you have to pay for your treatments. And they can be very expensive. Nevertheless, he decided that he was going to vote for Donald Cheeto, translucent wig wearing as Trump, because he wanted Trump to scrap the Obamacare and continue with the Affordable Cares Act. Not realizing that when Obama launched Obamacare, he made it clear that it was the ACA. The Obamacare is the Affordable Cares Act. So he basically scrapped his entire privilege of getting discounted or cheap healthcare. But that was not what behooved me. What behooved me was when the nigga found out what was I saying? Yeah. When he found out, bitch, that Obamacare and the ACA was the same thing. Hear this nigga. Why don't they label them different? The nigga started complaining that they weren't labeled different. Sir, they are the same. Yo, listen, I need to, good night.
serious question for the Republicans who didn't know that the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare were the same thing. What was the thought process there? Did you think that you had the Affordable Care Act because it was for Republicans and Obamacare was for the Democrats? Did you think that Obama was still helping with Obamacare? Like, did you think Obama was running it? What did you think the main difference was between Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act? Like, did you just think, like, Obamacare was the more liberal insurance and you just got, like, the more non-liberal insurance? I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm genuinely so fascinated by this blunder. I could understand not getting tariffs, sure. I'm just... If we didn't think they were the same thing, what did we think they were? How did we think they were different? Like, when you got your Affordable Care Act coverage, did you specifically say, no Obamacare for me, only Affordable Care Act? Did you think that Trump was going to take away the free Obamacare insurance for Democrats, but not the Affordable Care Act insurance for Republicans? I'm genuinely trying to understand. So please leave me a comment. And for what it's worth, I genuinely hope that everyone who needs free health insurance or low-cost health insurance ends up with it at the end of this.
Republicans want to take away your health care. On Monday in Pennsylvania, Speaker Mike Johnson said he is planning a massive healthcare reform if Donald Trump wins. You'll remember Donald Trump has been really interested in reforming Obamacare. Here's the thing about Republicans. When they say they're reforming Obamacare, what they mean is they're taking it away. Republicans are at war with the federal government. They want to shrink it. They want it to provide you with less stuff. That's what this means. Donald Trump wants to reform Obamacare, aka get rid of it. That means no health care, no health care, guaranteed health care for people with pre-existing conditions. And it means the closure of rural hospitals that are dependent on Medicare and Medicaid expansion. You will see the end of Obamacare if Donald Trump gets elected. That's what Mike Johnson is promising.
Help me! Help me!
If you voted for Trump, don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't come near me, don't come near my friends. If you're confused on why people are so angry and heartbroken and grieving, then you probably have no idea what's going on. First of all, because everything is going to be ruled by the Republicans now and they have a conservative court. We're looking at the ACA being repealed. That's the Affordable Care Act. Thanks, Obama. So for people like me who are on the Affordable Care Act, because they can't work a full-time job, they're not going to be able to afford or have access to health insurance, okay? The only way that I can get health insurance is through the ACA. My plan as it is without the subsidy, $400. I pay about $50 for that right now. Because I'm self-employed, I will have no insurance when that is repealed. My medication costs $20,000 per dose. I currently get that through the drug company through a special little thing that only is available if you have health insurance. So please understand that people like me, people in my communities, are going to die. And that's what you have voted for. So, in a few years, when all these policies start going into effect, if you never see me and my family again, it's because we had to fucking move. And it's your fault.
One good thing that came out of this whole Luigi United Healthcare issue is people are finally starting to talk about the healthcare system in America and how messed up it is. What I don't think people realize is a lot of their issues is because of Obamacare. Yes, Obamacare had a lot of good ideas, but it didn't work for the vast majority of Americans. What it allowed was for people with pre-existing conditions who used to not be able to get health insurance, and people who couldn't afford health insurance at the time to be able to get health insurance, which is awesome. However, because of that, the insurance companies had to raise their premiums for all of the other people outside of those two circumstances. So if you didn't meet the eligibility financially for Obamacare, and if you didn't have pre-existing conditions, your insurance rate skyrocketed through the roof. That's the part of Obamacare that people don't talk about, Because when you hear Obamacare, you hear about the Affordable Care Act and, it made health insurance affordable. Only made health insurance affordable for people who couldn't afford health insurance to begin with. For the people who did have insurance already, it just made them skyrocket. So the majority of middle-class Americans are paying for that.
You want to hear something crazy that's happening in the United States right now? A federal judge in Texas, Reed O'Connor, this guy just made a ruling that stripped one of the key provisions in the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, that requires health insurance companies and employers to provide free health services that include cancer screenings, diabetes screenings, HIV PrEP medications, depression screening, etc. This is something that's going to affect over 100 million people based on this ruling. This is the same judge that about 4 years ago tried to strike down the Affordable Care Act from being law, and then it was upheld by the Supreme Court at that time. The reason why this happened was because a case was brought forth by 6 individuals and 2 Christian-owned businesses who did not want to provide free HIV PrEP medication because they did not want to promote homosexual behavior since it wasn't in line with their religious beliefs. It's likely that the Biden administration will appeal this ruling, but if it's upheld by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, then this is going to go to the Supreme Court again. While I do believe that we need to have systemic changes to our healthcare system, breaking it down without trying to build it up at the same time is not the way to do it.
Another moment came with the MAGA movement, where FAFO was used in both supportive and critical contexts. Supporters used it to challenge opponents, while critics employed it to highlight the consequences of controversial policies or actions.
To all of you Trump supporters out there, you got played so badly by Donald Trump. His entire campaign promise to you was, we're going to lower prices. Now, just today, he said it's going to be very hard to lower grocery prices. After saying he could do it like that, it would be so easy. And Donald Trump also recently said that he couldn't guarantee that his tariffs won't raise prices. So congratulations, MAGA. Not only are you not getting lower prices, but instead you're getting higher prices because we pay the tariffs. All of us were telling you before the election that this would happen, that Donald Trump's policies are only going to raise prices. He can't just magically lower the price of groceries. You didn't listen. So have fun.
TikTok was instrumental in making FAFO mainstream. Creators used the phrase in comedy skits, social commentary, and even educational videos.
I've heard a lot of bashing recently on this app about Gen X. Let me tell you a little something about why we're the fuck around and find out generation. We've been working since we were 12. We were the generation where you were seen, not heard. Parents were talking, adults were talking. If you had to use the restroom, just squat. You can't come inside. You just squat. You learn to squat. You want a drink of water? There's the hose. Turn it on. We were the generation that blew up mailboxes, egged cars, toilet papered homes. We are the reason why some of these laws are enacted today. So when I hear people talk about Gen X and why we're the fuck around generation, this is why. This is why we are the fuck around and find out generation.
I've got a little life lesson for you. It's called FAFO. I'll explain it in the following clip. On our axis of find out, down here on the bottom, you can start at a 1 and you can go all the way up to a 10. Over here, the y-axis, we got fuck around. Same, you can be at level 1 or you can be at level 10. So the more that you want to find out, the more you need to fuck around. So if you want to fuck around, you'll find out what's happening. For example, messing with my family, level 10. You want to find out at level 10 and fuck around at level 10, you'll find out at a level 10. Level 5.
So I did the FAFO thing. Listen, I know what it is. I know what it was. I was just trying to see if I could follow instructions. Listen, people, I am dying laughing.
I'm gonna say this because I'm about to go to bed and I'm hearing about this whole the FAFO Southern women movement, whatever the hell y'all calling that. Y'all know for a goddamn fact ain't no black woman sitting here threatening to jump y'all because we're not even thinking about y'all. We are so focused on ourselves. And I think that's what's making you mad. So this tells me it's really just an excuse for y'all to incite violence and start trouble with black women and start trying to police black people out in public. Y'all so fucking full of yourselves. Get a fucking life. But y'all are sitting here doing what y'all do best. Lying, making up shit, and victimizing yourselves. But it's okay. Because the only ones that's going to fuck around and find out is y'all. Y'all not the only ones who carry.
So once again, thank you for attending my TED Talk. Okay, just want to let you know that I am a social scientist and not an artist. Okay, and today's presentation is going to be on the fuck around and find out concept. Okay, this is a very easy chart to understand, but I'm going to break it down for you. Okay, so this is our fuck around line. As you can see, it's quite long because depending on the person, they might want to fuck around a lot. Okay, this is our find out line, right? And this is our cause and effect line, right? Because for every action, there's an opposite but equal reaction. So let's say that you have a person, right, who wants to fuck around right here, right? We'll take it all the way up to the cause and effect line. Right? As you can see, they fucked around a little bit, so they found out a little bit. However, right, if you have a person, right, who really, really likes to fuck around, okay, we'll start right about here, right? As you can see, right, the level of finding out is quite high, right? So, excuse me, in conclusion, right, the more you fuck around, the higher your chances are of finding out. Thank you.
Sometimes you just need to FAFO. What the hell is a FAFO? Don't like to ask people's opinions when it comes to making a decision. I like to just go with my gut. And one of the best things that my mom ever told me is it doesn't matter what your friends say, what their opinions are. You just need to touch the burning hot stove and you just need to fuck around and find out. Sometimes the worst that's gonna happen, you're gonna find out that you don't like what you just found out. I'm experiencing that right now, actually. I wanna fling myself off a bridge, but I want it to FAFO, you know. Also learning to want to let your emotions subside before you get yourself in situations that do not adhere to your standards and go with it because you're like, I'm gonna FAFO. You're left annoyed, disgusted at yourself, cringed. It's totally okay to FAFO.
This weekend I took my kid camping for the first time with the Cub Scouts and we had a great time. But at one point it was raining pretty hard. It was raining all day. It was real wet. And the kids were all just playing around at the campsite, and my son decided he didn't want to wear his rain jacket anymore. Okay, that's up to you. I'm not fighting my kid on a jacket unless temperatures are such that it could be dangerous to be without it. I did warn him, okay, but you're going to get wet. Just so you know, I'm not going to get a new shirt out for you. You're going to have to figure this one out yourself. And he said, I'm fine. I won't need a new shirt. Of course, 10 minutes later, he was not fine. He got to decide for himself when he'd had enough. He got to decide for himself when he needed to go find a new shirt and stop playing and change. And we pretty much do that with everything that there's not a safety concern. If there's a safety concern, obviously, they're not finding out from that. But they decide to get real adventurous when they're climbing a tree and climb higher than they're comfortable with, they get to figure out a way down. Obviously, if they're panicking, I'll help them. And after they've worked on a solution for a minute, I'll help them figure out a way down, but I'm not getting them out of that scrape. They got to figure out themselves. Fuck around, find out.
FAFO. Trump's tariffs and mass deportation will result in high food prices and shortages for Americans. I thought Trump said that he was going to lower prices and costs for everybody. It was all Biden's fault, only Biden's fault. Well, we're going to see what happens. But you went around and you effed around, and now you're going to find out. So let's just look at some statistics as far as imports and also as far as products here in the United States. Over 50% of all the fruits, 50 to 60% actually, of the fruits in the United States are imported from foreign countries. 50% of the nuts, peanuts, etc. that we eat are imported from foreign countries. 20 to 38% of all the vegetables you get in the grocery store are imported from foreign countries, and 10% of the beef. So when we add a 20 to 100% price increase on this, guess who's going to pay for it? The tariff is not paid by China or any exporting country. It's paid by the importing company, and the importing company is going to raise the price to pass it on to you. You're going to pay more for food. Is that what you voted for? Really, it isn't, but that's what you're going to get. So let's look at farms in the United States. Over 50% of the farm workers in the United States are undocumented. And farmers and owners of farms have indicated that they cannot survive without these undocumented workers. How many of you are going to rush out to work in the heat and the dust and these dirty manual labor conditions when these undocumented workers are forced to leave the country? You're not going to do it. You want to stay in your office. You want to stay and play on your TikTok and not be out manual labor. You won't do it. Who's going to harvest these crops? The farmers can't pay you enough because you just don't want to do the work. You don't want to do manual labor. Who's going to replace these 50% of the workforce that harvests all the crops? No one. These crops will go unharvested, which means the prices are going to go up. There's going to be a shortage of food, and then we've raised the prices of food coming into the United States. So this means higher costs for you, shortages at the grocery store. And you can't blame it on Biden anymore. It's Trump's baby, and this is what's coming. But you effed around, you're going to find out, and this is what you're going to get. And we're going to talk more about this in some other areas where you're going to see crazy price increases. But this isn't what you voted for, but it's what you're going to get. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, and my cuckoos. And please tell me how this is going to bring jobs back to the United States. It is not. Y'all actually need to look at reality. You really need to look at reality. And I'm going to talk about what happened when Trump did this back in 2018 and what happened to the farm industry then in another video.
So get ready for house prices to go up. Yeah. Get ready for any kind of repairs that you may want to do in your property, any kind of renovating, any kind of, upgrading that you want to do in your property to be more expensive. Get ready for your rents to go up. Yeah. Because if we are going to have an increase on our tariffs, it's going to have a significant impact on almost everything that we ever have to spend money on. And politics aside, the math is just the math, right? So everyone just has to start preparing for what you need to do to create a better situation for yourself. So if you're looking to purchase a property and you are able to, I suggest you move forward with doing that. If you are, for example, thinking about upgrading your roof, upgrading anything in your property, obviously it's all going to cost money. It's ideal that you go ahead and do that now. And I'll explain to you why. It's been proposed by the president-elect that he wants to raise tariffs to approximately 40 to 60%. He says that that is an effort on his part to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Now that's very difficult to do because one, it's significantly cheaper to manufacture certain products in other countries. Not only that, they've had years of a jump start over the United States, right? They have also a significant amount of people available to do the work that needs to be done to produce the raw materials, the inputs that we need in order to produce certain products here in the United States. So even though we do manufacture some things here, there's always some raw material somewhere that we just do not do here. We do not even grow cotton here. Like, I don't even know if we do any at all, but I doubt we do any enough to be able to have materials to make clothes. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because we are looking at new construction being even more expensive than it is right now. It's going to definitely push out a lot of people that already are struggling to afford to buy certain things, certain homes. They're not going to be able to afford what's to come. It's going to be outrageous. I really feel like this is going to have a significant impact on our country altogether if this is really done. A part of me doesn't believe it's going to happen, but you have to prepare regardless of how you feel. Because economically it doesn't make sense to me, but I don't make the rules. So we have to adjust. So if you're in a position where you want to purchase, go ahead and do that, especially if it's new construction. But don't think that the traditional properties, the ones that are on the market now, are going to just sit around and not be, people are going to now shift. The housing market, right now we need about 1 million homes to satisfy the housing demand. And as you all know, during 2020, 2021, 2022, when we had that huge pandemic, it had a significant impact on the cost of goods, raw materials to build these homes. So obviously prices went up. There's a lot of things that happened during that time that influenced the cost of homes. And these home prices have not adjusted a lot, if any. Take my word for it, okay? So with that being said, when these tariffs are implemented, and as you know, tariffs are paid by the people that are getting goods imported to them here in the U.S. It's not paid by the international companies. They're going to have to offset that expense over to us. I hope you all are paying attention and kind of seeing how this all works, because I think a lot of people are unaware of the actual details of these new rules that are going to be implemented, whatever we want to call it, right? So at the end of the day, no one is going to be escaping. You're not going to be able to escape what's to come. If it's implemented, it's going to affect everyone. It doesn't matter if you're at the top, bottom, left, right. Everyone's going to pay the price. And with that happening, you have to prepare. You can't just wait for the roof to fall in on you. You got to do something about it. So I'm just putting out this PSA for you right now. If you are thinking about buying a property, do it now. If you're thinking about selling and relocating to another location, do it now so that you can do it while it's affordable. If you're renting, just get ready for rents to go up, because landlords are going to be subject to expenses and they're going to just offset it off to you. That's just how it works. This is basic economics, guys. I think if you understand economics, you understand. So anyway, educate yourselves. Let's all start looking at how we're going to manage ourselves over the next few years if things turn over the way that it's expected to on January 20th. Because at the end of the day, regardless of who you voted for, we're all under the same, we're living in the same country. We're living in the same country. We're subject to the same rules, and whatever the economy is going to look like with all of these changes, we're all going to be subject to that. So we all have to prepare and get ready for what's to come. And the people that are going to probably suffer the most, not exclusively, obviously other people will suffer too, but people who are naive are going to suffer a lot, because if you have this I'm waiting for a miracle mindset, it's going to sting even more. So just get prepared.
A lot of people want access to the benefits of relationship without doing the work and accountability of being in relationship. And that's a lot of what we see happening in the Around and Find Out relationship edition, right? A mismatch of relational energy and investment. And people feeling like, hey, if you're not respecting, if you're not honoring, if you're not listening to, if you're not considering, right, my experience, my point of view, my rights, and the rights of people that I love, what's going on in this relationship? What are we building on here? Right? Like, a lot of questions begin to arise.
I'm a Canadian, and somehow I've ended up on FAFO TikTok, F Around and Find Out TikTok, and I love it, but it also breaks my heart. I'm happy to be Canadian.
So I don't know who needs to hear this, but go ahead and call that credit card company and tell them to put your credit limit down. I'm minding my business today on my day off, and I get an alert from American Express saying, oh, your credit card limit has gone up to so and so. I called them people so quick and told them to put it back. I don't need it. For what? So I can be in more debt? I don't need it. Don't reward me in that way. If you want to reward me, I don't know, like, pay my bill for me. But don't increase my credit limit. You try to get me in trouble? Get away from me.
FAFO, Tariff Edition. I don't know where everybody was during the steel and aluminum tariffs, but I was watching my industry get absolutely wrecked by it. Because it didn't do anything good. All it did was make the costs go up for everybody. American steel went up, Chinese steel went up. Just the costs got passed on. We all tried to absorb as much of it as we could, but the retail price of everything just went up. And you know what happened to the profits? They plummeted. So the prices went up and everybody was making less money trying to absorb these stupid fucking tariffs. And it had a ripple effect. It wasn't just the things that involved steel and aluminum, because anybody who was trying to absorb that had to raise their other costs to try to offset the profit that they were losing on that steel and aluminum. And now there's going to be a tariff on everything? Do you know how much imported food we eat? Jesus Christ. Y'all gonna learn. FAFO.
John shook his head. You're just looking at the negatives. He's strong on immigration and keeping jobs here. The conversation spiraled into a heated debate. I couldn't understand how they, having grown up with every advantage I could provide, could support someone who champions policies that harm so many people. That night I thought about how much my wife and I had sacrificed to give them opportunities. I worked extra hours to cover their tuition so they wouldn't have student loans. I paid for their gas, car insurance, and even groceries. And this is what they choose to do with that privilege? A few days later, I told them my decision. If you want to support Trump's policies, you should also live by them, I said. From now on,
I've been waiting for a while to make this TikTok. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend like I wasn't. I was waiting for this, and I'm gonna say it. Remember back then when you were laughing and saying, oh, he's gonna lower the prices of the groceries down. Ha! Wait a minute.
Your child to put their hands on you physically is the most insane thing I have ever heard of. But I'm gonna tell you right now, parents, when you don't correct that behavior, you're making your child feel like that is okay, that is acceptable, that is the norm. And because they can do it to you, they're gonna feel like they can do it to somebody else. And honey, that is the most untruthful thing I have ever heard of. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, your child is gonna go out into this world and they're gonna put their hands on somebody or somebody else's child, and baby, they're gonna fuck around and find out really quickly that their mother or father set them up for complete disaster. And what is insane about that is if someone else hits your child, you will tell your child to hit them back. But if your child hits you, you don't hit them back? No, the fuck not. You're old enough to throw a hand. You're old enough to kick. You're old enough to spit, baby. You are old enough to get it back. And I don't care how y'all feel about that. The quickest way to teach somebody is to let them see how that shit feels. Your child keeps hitting you, hit them back. Your child kicks you, kick them back. Show them exactly what the fuck it is they're giving out. Because I'm going to tell you right now, other people in this world are going to give them back exactly what the fuck they give them. But they ain't going to be nice about it like you as a parent can control the niceness and the toughness about it. This world, you think somebody's going to be like, let me just hit them a little bit. No, the fuck they're not. They're going to knock them the fuck out. And for all the parents about to tell me, oh, that's too harsh, you should never do that, let me tell y'all something. Y'all need to grow some fucking balls. The rest of this world is not going to play Patty Princess with your child. It just ain't going to happen. Your child is going to go out here and put their hands on someone or their child, like I said, and your child is going to fuck around and find out. And then you're going to be hurt because your child is going to have some life lessons that you didn't prepare them for. And I'm telling you, you can avoid all of this by nipping that behavior in the bud when they're very small. They put their hands on you, let them know that shit is not okay. They bite you, bite them back. They kick you, kick them back. And I don't give a damn how y'all feel. I don't want to hear it. I'm telling you now, the best way to teach that is to show them how the fuck it feels. Because the rest of this world is going to show them. And why wouldn't they? Nobody, your child, no one else's child should be walking around putting their hands on people and not expecting for someone to put their hands back. Parents, you got to stop that shit right now. Good day.